Star Wars Outlaws is a game published by Ubisoft and developed by Massive Entertainment. Now, is this adventure in the galaxy far, far away something that will breathe a breath of fresh air into the franchise, or is this a typical Ubisoft product that consumers seem to be so fatigued by? Let's dive in and check it out. Graphics. Graphics are up to industry standard, and for the most part, it looks amazing. The world's finely detailed, and character models look great occasionally. The thing I noticed is that sometimes it doesn't really render all that well, especially on the ground. I noticed a couple of low rendering problems that were kind of fixed in a restart, and character models, while in these highly rendered cutscenes that they are displayed in, when they interact one-on-one outside of these cutscenes, sometimes they don't look that great with the facial animation, and it kind of looks like someone's playing with dolls. I do think, though, visually the greatest strength here is that the lighting does a lot of favors to this game. It really helps people get immersed in the game with a new added visual flair. While the maps and environments are strong on each planet, the characters that populated them definitely needed some visual refinements. I also want to note that one cutscene didn't load for me properly towards the end of the game, and I suffered through 3 crashes and a soft lock, so unfortunately, I'm gonna have to take some points off there. Gameplay. Star Wars Outlaws feels inconsistent. There are some aspects that I enjoyed, like some of the gunplay and the world exploration. However, Kay's blaster feels really underpowered. I mean, seriously, I was watching some guys eat headshots. I could understand if it was like a stormtrooper or an enemy wearing a helmet, but some of these guys, they could have died from a headshot pretty easily. And I felt that some of the required stealth sections had their fail states trigger way too easily and didn't give you enough time to correct your error. And to segue to stealth, it's pretty poor here. It's kind of made me question why Massive Entertainment was chosen when they're known for the Division games that are about hardcore shooting and looting. They don't really focus on stealth. That is more of the Ghost Recon team, and maybe some of them worked on this game, but I don't know. It's just not the strongest stealth mechanics that Ubisoft's ever had, and in fact, it might be the weakest, and it's just kind of disappointing because Ubisoft is pretty good at developing stealth mechanics, and this just kind of feels like a regression. This kind of reminds me of like the annoying don't get spotted desynchronization sections in Assassin's Creed 3. Kay can make all sorts of connections with the criminal underworld and raise her reputation with each syndicate, or she can betray them for financial gain. There is ship combat here, but it's okay at best. It doesn't really hold a candle to any of Ubisoft's previous vehicle fights, and it's nothing like as refined as Starfield from last year. Also, the speeder controls very clunky, and I crashed so many times on that thing, just because I hit like something that I feel like I really shouldn't have crashed on. But that thing crashes all the time. And I feel like it's not the best speeder in the world, and it's kind of terrible to use sometimes. So yeah, overall the vehicles are weak. This also has like the worst lockpicking minigame. I don't know why they made it rhythm based, but this was frustrating. Luckily, you can turn on a tooltip to make it easier, but don't make lockpicking rhythm-based. This was a bad choice, and it was frustrating. The reputation mechanic, which you can build between each syndicate, is kind of easily manipulated, and story-wise, it feels like it's forgotten after the first half. I would say even sooner than that. See, Kay can betray different syndicates in favor of others, but she'll lose reputation. All that Kay has to do to make up for lost reputation is take a contract from that syndicate, and she'll get it all back. So there really is no stake in any decisions here. Even though I believe that syndicates could have used more work with the reputation system, I still enjoyed actually doing quests for them, mainly because there were rewards, so you were still gaining something no matter what, and there was a little bit of an incentive to keep up their reputation and their happiness with Kay. If you maxed out each syndicate, at the end, each of them would give you their very own special outfit with special perks. The Crimson Dawn outfit that you see me wearing here and a lot in the other clips is one that makes Kay harder to be detected by enemies. Kay can also make connections with various characters she meets throughout the game. For example, I met a gunslinger that allowed her to pick more than 3 targets in her adrenaline stance, which is kind of similar to Red Dead Redemption's Deadeye mode. Sabak returns from Knights of the Old Republic, but this time with a more fleshed out and more comprehensive rule set, but the game remains just as addicting. There's a wanted system, and I'm adding this in during editing because I forgot to mention it originally because it's just underutilized and it's not that fun of a wanted system. It behaves like any Grand Theft Auto 5-star wanted system. But instead of just having SWAT on you, you get death troopers, and to call it off, you can't hide from it, you can't outrun it. You have to basically find where the death troopers are camped out and take them out or sneak past them, and you have to use a code from their Imperial officer who is with them, and you have to disable a computer. The best addition Outlaws has is Nyx, Kay's critter companion. Nyx makes stealth and gameplay way easier. Seeing as these fail states like to trigger randomly, using Nyx strategically is a must. He can disable alarms, distract, steal, and attack guards, fetch items. He can even reach areas Kay wouldn't be able to get to by herself. Now this is another open world Ubisoft game, so its greatest strength is its exploration. I mean, I'd be surprised if it wasn't. I mean, this formula for Ubisoft, it's a money printer. It makes them money. Not to go off on a tangent, but everyone seems to be tired of this. And maybe with current sales figures not being released, it might be the end of the Ubisoft free roam giant map era. Seems that people are growing tired of it. But as long as it keeps making money, they're not stopping it. However, Massive Entertainment kind of played it really safe here. They picked a planet like Tatooine, which is pretty barren, a small planet like Kijimi, or a lesser-known planet like Toshara, so they had a bit more freedom of creativity, but also with minimal risk. So it just still left a lot to be desired, even by Ubisoft standards. Story. Kay Vess is a young woman down on her luck, trying to make it big in the galaxy. After she joins in on a plan to rob the richest man on Canto Bight, Sliro Bashara, it all goes wrong for her. Kay ends up stealing Sliro's most prized possession, the Trailblazer, a pretty rare ship these days, built for smuggling. So, Kay ends up with a massive bounty on her head known as a death mark. Now Kay is trying to find a way to clear her name and get rid of the death mark, and that will only be possible through the criminal underworld. Now, Star Wars stories, I feel like, have been inconsistent. I would say that recently, only maybe 1 or 2 have been my favorite, like The Mandalorian, or I liked Andor, but later seasons of The Mandalorian, like Mandalorian Season 3, wasn't a fan of, and I did not watch Ahsoka or The Acolyte, just because I feel kind of like there's so much Star Wars. In fact, really the only Star Wars thing I participated with last year is last year's Jedi Survivor, which I really liked. So where does this story fall? Well, I'll say that I did like it, but it wasn't my favorite. I just feel like all the big twists were just kind of predictable. And the smaller twists are kind of the ones you don't expect because they happen so fast. Some of them are even hidden within side quests. And sometimes some of the side quests had better objectives and better ideas than the main story. I also want to praise Umberly Gonzalez as Kay Vess and Jay Rincon as ND5. I thought they were great, and I think their performances as these characters is kind of what makes me want to see a sequel. I don't want to see these characters disappear into obscurity, kind of like how Kiara did from Solo after that movie didn't do too well, even though she was a pretty cool character. And a part of me hopes that this game sells well so we can get a more improved game with these characters in it, because I think they are genuinely likable. While it's not the most amazing or ambitious Star Wars tale, I was still entertained by the end. The overall, is Star Wars Outlaws worth $70? No. As long as you've been following my review series, which not a lot of people have. This is quite new. I'm quite new to YouTube. I have not recommended any game for $70. Maybe save for Dragon's Dogma 2. But even then, I was kind of more hesitant to recommend it as a blanket recommendation. So, how do you recommend Outlaws to someone? My recommendation, I would wait for sale if you want a Star Wars adventure and maybe a free roam game that will take up some of your time as a time killer. There is still a lot to do. However, there's some lack in variety in the things to do here. So it's definitely something worth checking out on sale. Personal recommendation, maybe wait till it's $40 or less. And then I would say it's a pretty good bang for your buck. So that's why my final score for Star Wars Outlaws is going to be a 6.5 out of 10. While I personally liked it, I still found it pretty flawed and kind of underwhelming even for a Ubisoft title. That's it for this review, and thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, please hit subscribe and tell me what you want to see next. See ya.